It is getting tight for the British to reach an agreement with the European Union. Time is running out. This creates nervousness and uncertainty on both sides. Professor Rolf J. Langhammer, foreign trade expert at the Kiel Institute for World Economy, comments on the effects of Brexit. He was asked, what does Brexit mean for the European Union? And he said, there is a risk of tariffs in the event of a hard Brexit. That means without an agreement. This would make export goods from the EU to Great Britain more expensive. The same goes for products from the island in return. In addition, workers and service providers from the continent could no longer work so easily in Great Britain. They would then need an extra permit. These two examples alone show that many things would be more complicated and therefore more expensive than today. Regarding customs duties, what is in store for us? Take German cars as an example. If the British chose the same tariff rate as the EU against members of the World Trade Organization, there would be a tariff of 10% on exporters' prices. That would hit vehicle manufacturers like BMW, Audi and their suppliers hard. Other goods, such as machines and agricultural products, would also be subject to a duty. It would be the same for British exports to the EU. Are tariffs inevitable? Yes, because Great Britain is then no longer in the EU, unless a free trade agreement for goods was agreed after all. Otherwise, the multilateral agreements that both sides entered into as members of the WTO apply. But nobody can really want tariffs, can they? Of course not. But the British only want the advantages of the large EU internal market for themselves, but almost no restrictions. They want to decide freely without the EU having a say. The idea of complete sovereignty is incompatible with a commercial contract that fixes rights and obligations. But such a contract can only work if the rules of the game are agreed and implemented jointly. Prime Minister Boris Johnson does not want to accept them. There are common standards in the European Union for products and services, but also for employment contracts. The EU fears that the British will decide on lower environmental, labour and social standards and thus undercut those of the EU, which Brussels rejects as incompatible with the rules for the internal market. A big problem is that the British do not want to bow to the judgment of the European Court of Justice in disputes over the rules of trade in goods. And then there's the issues of fishing. Although the problem with the ECJ has been solved, there is a compromise on the table from the EU for quite some time now. In Professor Langhammer's opinion, this is the biggest stumbling block: the fishing. The United Kingdom is demanding an exclusive economic zone for its fishermen that should extend 200 nautical miles into the sea. Currently, more than half of all fish caught in UK waters are landed from boats from other EU countries. That is why Brussels is against the exclusive economic zone. The subject is emotionally charged on the island because of the question of territorial sovereignty. The fishery only accounts for 0.6% of British economic output. The fishermen in particular voted for Brexit with a large majority and made Johnson responsible for their interests. But how will companies in the EU countries react to a hard Brexit? They are likely to pull productions off the island and move them to the EU. Then the country will lose even more industrial manufacturing capacity. The manufacturing sector on the island already has a significantly lower share of economic output than in Germany and can therefore only make a weak contribution to the creation of qualified jobs. What will hard Brexit mean for services? Services are not covered by WTO. Everyone who's always saying WTO is fine always forgets a large chunk of British income comes from services and trade in services, and they no longer happen under WTO because without a deal there is no access for trade and services to the EU internal market. Can a hard Brexit still be prevented? Well, there's hardly any time left. The question is whether in the end the EU is ready to go far with the British. As the economically stronger and hopefully politically more sensible party, it should do this for the benefit of both sides. That's Professor Langhammer's opinion. I think the EU is there for its members and has to do what is best for its members. What can the British expect after Brexit? Hard times, he says. They are no longer the great nation, the old empire, and then no longer under the umbrella of the economically powerful EU, but only a small partner for others. And they'll be much more intransigent with the British than with the EU. The US has already shown it. That could be a pretty rude awakening for Brexit supporters in January. And if you now want to know more about European politics, YouTube has chosen another of my videos right here for you on the end screen, right next to your chance to subscribe to my channel, which I hope you already did. I'll see you in my next video. Click and enjoy. Viel Spaß!